Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to just have a short video, hopefully a short video about something very funny that I saw on TikTok. So I saw it in two different places and from two different perspectives, and I just found it so funny. Okay, so the first one was a guy telling his fellow men that if you're an African without papers living in the diaspora, there are two things that you should do this year, 2022, right? If you have been away from your country for more than 3 years and you still don't have papers, you need to divorce the wife you had in your country and let her leave, because that's holding a woman in a hostage situation. The second thing was that if you are in the diaspora without papers, you need to not date and especially not impregnate um, women who are fellow Africans who are also in the diaspora without papers, because you are not helping that girl's life. You're just making it more complicated. And yeah, and then the second one was a video of a woman who was saying a story about how so an African guy meets another African guy, an African woman, and so he tells her that, he tells her that, yeah, I'm from um, X country, and but I have a French passport. I've been here since I was a child. And the girl goes like, oh, me too. Okay. So they both tell each other that, and then the guy moves into her house, and the girl works very hard at getting pregnant, and then the guy also works very hard at getting the girl pregnant. So eventually they both, you know, and of course they're telling each other, oh, the guy is busy saying, oh, please don't get pregnant, and the girl is busy saying, please don't get me pregnant. But they are both, privately working hard to make sure you're pregnant. So eventually what happens is the girl gets pregnant. Now it's time for, because in French you need, well, I think it's in most countries, you actually need to declare the child to be yours if you're not married. So they move and they go like, okay, I need you to I need to go to the place to go and register the child. And the guy goes like, yes, we do. And then the woman goes like, yeah, so now you need to bring your passport. And the guy goes like, okay, now the story that I told you, the truth is I don't have a French passport. I don't even have any papers. I'm just. And the girl goes like, oh my God, me too. So they've both been wasting each other's time. And yeah, and it sounded so weird. And the person who forwarded me this TikTok was actually asking me, is this even true? And I told her, my God, it is more true than you can imagine. The lies people say. I don't blame them, because number one, you don't know who is your friend. So you can't go around telling people your situation. So, for example, if you are still waiting for your papers, you don't just walk around telling people, "Oh, I don't have a permit," but it's not something you walk around saying, right? And if you can get away with it, if you have a job and you look like your situation is stable, most of the time it's better to just tell people your situation is stable. I mean, there are so many witches walking around, they will just destroy your life for you. So don't, it's not something that you go around sharing, right? Okay. And then it just hit me. There are quite a number of women who are in long distance relationships. Now, one thing I would say is, if the guy comes to the diaspora and says that, okay, so I'm leaving you, I'm going to the diaspora, I'm going to make things okay there, and then you will join me. If in 2 years that has not happened, forget about this guy, move on with your life. And the same thing to the guy. If in 2 years because sometimes they do actually genuinely have that desire, but it doesn't happen. If in 2 years, because once you get there, you see how hard things are, you see how maybe not possible it will be to be able to bring this woman around. So once you notice that, just let the poor girl go. Just, forget it. Just, you know, count it as one of those things that just happened, and let her move on with her life, right? So so um the other thing is this thing of long distance marriages. First of all, I don't know how people do it, because I just don't trust men that much, and there is no way I trust myself enough to believe that I am going to be faithful to a guy indefinitely. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know how people think that it's possible, because we are made of flesh and bone. And I think also depending on your age, nah, this is not an age thing. Come on. Even when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, you still need company. So, how are you just sitting there with somebody who you're not even sure you're ever going to see ever again, and just thinking that this is something normal? I don't know. I just don't feel like that's normal. And then, of course, there's the breed that show up every December with gifts. Well, sometimes they even lie that those gifts were lost in a suitcase, which in an imaginary suitcase that KRA stole. But they there is the breed that have a full-fledged family abroad. Most of the time, the family is not from the same country as they are. So if they're Kenyan, they either have a wife or a husband who is not Kenyan, or but it can be Caucasian, can be Asian, can be an African from a whole other different country, and then they go back home, and they have a whole other family back home again. So this can be uh, a woman or a man. Mostly women, it would be a boyfriend, and most of the time, it would be the boyfriend that they left to begin with. I know somebody who actually did that for 7 years. 7 years, she was married here to a Caucasian Swiss guy, and she had a full-fledged relationship going on in Kenya, where she was paying the rent for this guy. The guy was even living with her child, and she had kept them in such a good life. And of course, the guy was living it up. I mean, you have a woman bankrolling your lifestyle. Come on. Everything was being paid for and everything. The maid had like 3 children with the guy. And yeah, this woman was stupidly paying, because, yeah, the maid, yeah, she's there. So when she goes home, the maid goes away to the village, because I mean she knows what they're getting out of it. Then one time she just decided to surprise them. When she surprised them, she found that, yeah, the maid was apparently the wife. Yeah, so she actually did that. She had a family back home and a family here, and every time she used to go home, she never used to carry her children or her husband, because she used to tell her husband that she had given her husband all these horror stories about how mixed race kids are kidnapped in Kenya. So the poor guy just said, "No, my children are never going there. So yeah, we will just stay here." And it's interesting because her whole family was in the mix of the situation. So her mother is the one who used to come and visit when her mother wants to see the grandkids, but not the other way around. The sad things that happen. Anyway, I don't know where her plan was heading to, because eventually, well, the husband found out, and that she even had a kid. She hadn't even told the husband that she had a kid, another kid. So yeah, that ended very painfully. Um, Okay, yeah. So there are those ones who they have the family there and the family here, and then they have the little girl that they're taking for the iPhones and the everything, and telling them all this nonsense, and oh, how much I love you and how much, don't worry, I'm making things happen, and then they get the person pregnant and leave them there. I just wonder one thing, which I've always been curious about. What happens if you get somebody pregnant and you have the nationality of another country? Can't they sue you for child support and then follow up through the embassy? I really wonder if that is possible, because if that is possible, that really should be done, because there are quite a lot of people leaving devastation behind. You don't go get somebody pregnant and then go and continue with your life as if nothing ever happened. Now, this is also an open door for those girls who would want to get themselves pregnant just so that they have that American child. That's another thing. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but just to keep men zipping things up, that would be a good thing to follow. Anyway, so those are the lies that the diasporans say.